Good afternoon and a very warm welcome. Thank you ever so much for joining us today. Welcome everyone to today's webinar. So today's webinar is just for you because we're looking at going from organiser to participant and what happens when professional services staff get fully involved. And we've got a panel of 3 professional services staff who have done just that and are joining us today. So I'm Alison Gray and I'm going to be your host today. And while we're waiting for people to join, what I would like is for you maybe just to share in the chat box what's one item that's on your desk that shares something about you, tells us something about you. One item that's just on your desk, just while we're waiting for people to join us. For me, I've got, let's just reach over here. I have a pot plant. I'm not entirely sure what it tells you about me, but I think it's maybe that I'm just trying to keep summer going. Once it started flowering, I put it on my desk so that I could have the benefit of it. So it's not tucked away behind my monitor, but it's only got one flower left, one that's hanging on in there. I was actually slightly frightened to move it, you know, just in case that last flower went. Lots of first cup of coffee, Sharon. Goodness sakes, you'll be needing that. Lots of coffees and another flowering plant. Ah, yes. I keep calm and carry on, Coaster. I like that you kind of carry that with you, that you bring that with you, Alison. Yeah, Neil's on to more than his first coffee. That's brilliant. A knitted pumpkin wearing a witchy hat. I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't expecting that. Oh, this is fabulous. A spaniel-shaped pen holder. That tells me something, Kate. A spaniel lover, I'm hoping. Atmospheric lighting. I love it. Brilliant. That's nice. It's nice hearing what people have got on their desks. So if you're just joining us, I've just been asking people to say what's one item on your desk that tells us something about you. And we've got a right range of things here. A local football team water bottle. I like it. Thank you for not naming names. Pen jar. It's supposed to be Yoda. Empty teacup. Chocolate wrappers. Oh, I like that, Matt. Yep. Keep that energy level up, I think. Oh, that sounds nice, Ruta. A selection of teas. All right, this is lovely. Well, please do feel free to keep adding into the chat. And if you've been here to any of our webinars before, you know that I really value interactivity. So I'm always keen to get you involved by sharing your experience and knowledge in the chat box. So please do use the chat box to ask questions and make sure that you're engaging with our panel of guest speakers. I think we've gathered a little bit of pace now. I think we've got hopefully most of you in the room. So it would be great if you would drop into the chat box just to say hello, maybe share who you are. Well, most of you have got your names already showing, but just what university you're with and what your job is. Just interested to know what your role is to see how that links with that kind of professional services staff involvement in training. Tracy's putting her crochet down for a moment on the desk. So just where you're from and what your role is. Welcome, Sharifa, University of Leeds. Hi, Ruta, University of Aberdeen. Sharon at, I'm trying to keep up now, Sharon at Northampton. Hi, Jasmine, Sterling, good to see you again. Where else have we got? And Alison from Huddersfield. Shape in Southampton. Shape TTO in Southampton. Oh, great. All sorts of really interesting to see the range of roles and the kind of areas that you're working in as well. So brilliant to have so many of you here. So today's webinar is all about reimagining the role of professional services in researcher training. Just to introduce myself, I'm Alison Gray. I'm the founder and director of Skillfluence, and my background is in programme design, in collaboration and commercialisation. And I spend a lot of time talking to universities, really to understand, I'm not talking to universities, people working in universities, really to understand the challenges that they have around knowledge exchange, around commercialisation and collaboration. And I started Skillfluence in 2015 with the aim of working with researchers and academics to help them find routes to get their research out into the world and have that real world impact that's so important to make a difference from their research. And since then, we've worked with a whole lot of universities and research centres, more than 80 across the UK and Europe, providing training for more than 30,000 PhD students, researchers, academics and professional services staff. A little lesser known in the university sector is that we also build accelerator programs for spin-outs and startups. In the last 10 years, we've designed and delivered more than 65 accelerator programs and delivered to more than 1,250 entrepreneurs and founders and spin-out leaders. And that's led to over £120 million of investment and funding secured by that. Which leads me on kind of nicely to tell you about our next webinar. And I kind of tell you this now, just because I know sometimes people have to scoot off early towards the end of our webinar. So I'm going to be talking next month about a pilot programme that we ran recently for Innovate UK as part of their iCure portfolio. And this was all about reaching universities and groups that are underrepresented on iCure programmes. And hopefully not too much of a spoiler to say that the results and the outcomes we gained were really amazing. And we've got the key stakeholders coming along to share their experience and insights from the programme. And I'll tell you a bit more about that at the end of the webinar, but I just thought I would mention up front as you may have to skip off early. Brilliant, we've still got more people joining and adding in where they're from. We've got Strathclyde, Salford. Hi everyone, more from Leeds, that's great. Oh, the Postgraduate Institute for Measurement Science, that's interesting. Imperial College, brilliant. Lovely to see so many of you here today. It's such a range, this is brilliant. Let me get into the body of the webinar now. So today's webinar is focused on moving from being the person that's the organiser for others to take part in training to being intrinsic to the success of the programme from within the programme. So we're going to be exploring how that works in practice and exploring the topics that are on this slide here. So we've got a fantastic panel of speakers and I'll introduce them in a moment. But first, I just want to quickly set the scene. And I'll start by asking you a couple of questions, if you don't mind. Because today we're thinking about professional services staff and learning alongside researchers on development programmes. So I just want to ask, is this something you've done before? Just a yes or a no. So you're not purely organising things, you're not the person delivering it either, but you're actually a learner on the programme alongside researchers. Just a yes or a no in the chat box. Ah, that's great. Quite a few yeses. Lots of yeses. Excellent. Oh, you're going to have great questions then. No pressure. Sometimes that's nice, yeah. Yeah, brilliant. Okay. Well, for those of you who have, it would be super to hear what was the topic or the subject matter or the purpose of that involvement. That's great, Grace. Well, you're in the right place to learn more about the benefits of that or how it works and and challenges as well. What was the topic or the subject matter or purpose? All right, social enterprises, building social enterprises, really interesting. RRI, bit of responsible research and innovation. Yep, that would be a really good one to link together on. Okay, great. Investor readiness. All right, reusable training materials for life sciences. That sounds really interesting. Okay, enterprise development. All right, brilliant. Thank you. But please, do keep on popping into the chat box, because it's interesting I think that's one of the benefits of this. Everyone gets to see what other people are up to and involved in and doing. So thank you very much. With that foundation, I'm delighted now to introduce our panel. I'll ask them to come off switch their videos on and come off mute. We've got three brilliant guests, each bringing their own experience of being fully involved in programs to build skills, capacity, and improve outcomes. So welcome. Thank you ever so much for joining us. I'm really looking forward to this. I've had the chance to chat with you all beforehand, so got really interesting insights. Let me come to Snehal, if you would mind, just introducing yourself and sharing a little bit about what you've been involved in.
Hi everyone, my name is Snehal. I'm the Knowledge Exchange Officer at the University of Hull. My role involves supporting researchers with commercialization as well as impact. And I was involved in a commercial impact accelerator that Skillfluence did with us at the university.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Snehal. That was a great program. So let me now go to Angela to ask you to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I hope you can hear me okay. I'm Angela Banks, an Industry Engagement Manager from the University of Glasgow, and that's for the College of Medical, Veterinary and Life Sciences. So I am responsible for supporting our researchers across a very diverse range of schools, everything from veterinary medicine through to neuroscience, to help them make new connections into industry and also to service any inquiries coming to the university to find academic expertise and doing that matchmaking into the university too. And the programme that I was involved in was earlier this year in springtime, which was Connect to Collaborate, which was exactly that. It was about helping our researchers build confidence and skills in collaborating with new partners.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Angela. And I will come over to you now, Neil.
Hi everyone, I'm Neil Bowden, Head of Innovation Funding at Sheffield Hallam University. So myself and my team, very similar to Snehal and Angela, we support knowledge exchange and commercialization activities. So leading on Innovate UK, funding the KTP portfolio, and then attempting to go for spin-outs and licensing and commercialization. We were involved as well with Connect to Collaborate, so that was last year, and with the researchers learning around kind of how to build those industry networks, like Angela's mentioned as well.
Thanks very much, Neil. Yes, and that was a pilot really of that programme. So a first take on it, and then we've built on that. So really interesting to hear the different takes on that. So thank you very much all for being here. I'm going to start with a few questions, but what I'd just say to everyone listening, to the audience, so please do share any questions or comments or insights that you have that you want to build on what people are saying or ask questions. So please do jot those into the chat box and I'll keep a lookout for them. But let me start. I'm going to come straight back to you, Neil. I wonder what made you decide to get directly involved in the training rather than supporting behind the scenes?
Thanks. It was from two reasons mainly. And the first was to upskill ourselves and to understand, and I think to kind of have a structured framework to thinking about knowledge exchange and industry engagement. I think that's always useful to kind of hear how other people do it, share best practice, which was really useful for. And the other was to try and get inside the heads of our academic base, to be honest, and to be alongside them, to hear. We hear all the time, and I'm sure many of you are similar, I don't know how to make contacts. I don't know where to find industry contacts. But then being alongside them on the program and hearing more detail behind that was really, really the kind of hidden secret reason why we decided to do the program and understand more about the needs of our academic community.
Yeah, and that's interesting. Getting into their heads, scary thought. But yeah, that's great. And Snehal, I'll maybe come to you because you were running it was a different type of program. So what was your thinking about, why you wanted to be directly involved?
Yeah, I think for us, the program came at a really good time because we're a new team. So the program also enabled us to sort of interact with researchers and understand more about their projects and things that could feed into our commercialization and impact pipelines. And I think for me personally as well, just because I was new to the role, so it was also a great way to learn on the job, to provide support, but also be at sort of in a learning space where I could pick up skills that would be relevant for my role. So it was just really good timing, I think.
Yeah, that's really nice. That's nice. And Angela, let me come to you and ask a sort of similar question, really. What made you want to be involved in it, rather than sort of an observer of it?
Similar to Snehal, our team at the time was quite new. We're only just coming up on it's a 2-year kind of anniversary. So it was as much about, just letting people know that we were there and being more present. So I think it's easy to maybe invite people in to deliver a course, but it was a way for us as a team to raise our own profile, get networked in, but also to have kind of those additional conversations with our researchers about not just the course content itself, but letting them know about what's available in terms of additional support within the university. This is my first role in a university. I've always worked in economic development or in more business facing roles. So it was, a learning for me coming into the uni about there's so much support out there, and I'd found out all that myself. So it was an opportunity for me to share that with our researchers because they're so focused on what they're doing. And I understand it can be daunting to try and engage with industry, but it was just a way for us to let them know they weren't alone and that we were there to help them too.
Yeah, that's really, and I mean, just on that, Angela, what did you actually do during the program? I mean, how did you take part?
Well, I mean, I kind of did it with the researchers. So I almost use my own role to go through the same exercises they were going through as well. So it gave me my own learning too. But I think it just allowed us to kind of shape the program as we went along as well, and kind of react in real time to what our researchers were talking about. It was, I think, by being involved and actively participating, it brought some flexibility into the program that might not have been there again if it was just kind of an off-the-shelf type training solution. So yeah, so we were there kind of doing it, and also there as well for conversations pre and post, to have a little kind of coffee and catch up with people at the start and answer questions at the end. Again, all to that piece about, this one course isn't it. This is a relationship now that we're forming. So yeah, it was just great to be in the room and kind of hear the questions and, like Neil said, kind of get in their heads a little bit too.
Yeah, you were in amongst it. That's great. Well,
Yeah.
Neil, I mean, that's kind of interesting. How did you find it? What did you find yourself actually doing, as part of the program?
Yes, I totally agree with everything you've just said, Angela. And I think that I was reflecting there as you were talking. I think sometimes the work that we do in kind of knowledge exchange work can be very transactional. People come to us with a problem to solve, whether that's a grant application or wanting to find a partner. And it did give us the opportunity to kind of take that step back and be those friendly faces, or hopefully friendly faces. So I totally agree with that. We had this, so exactly what Angela said, we were doing it for ourselves as well. So there's 5 or 6 of us from innovation services at SHU that were on the course. So we were getting involved, writing our own kind of who hypotheses and thinking about how we do that for both academia and industry, because we're kind of that bridge in between the two. But then there was this absolutely fantastic moment as part of Connect to Collaborate where the researchers are asked to create the kind of spider network of connections that they've got. And we did this round as a table, and we have so many industry contacts through projects, through previous jobs, etc. And we were able to be firing them off. So we were sat there on the tables as learners, but then also when people were asking around, do you know anybody in this sector? We're like, yeah, we do. Oh, my best friend's brother works in that company, and I can get you in. So that was really nice as well, to be involved and kind of help facilitate the training as well, and kind of facilitate the connections.
Yeah, we worked you hard. I would say, in this. I think
it was co-designed, Alison. It was.
Sorry, that's right. Sorry, it's co-designed. That was it. And Snehal, what about you? How did you, how were you involved in it? What were you doing on a kind of, during the program?
Yeah, I think our program was really interesting because it was a mix of in-person and online coaching sessions. So we were involved, obviously, in all the in-person sessions. There were bits where we had the delivery partner provide training, and we were in the audience with the researchers, interacting, learning alongside, but also we also participate in all of these one-to-one coaching sessions. So we were also there just to bounce off ideas, I guess, and see where we could bring in external support as well, from other members of the team who weren't necessarily involved in the program. So I think it was really nice to be able to be in those one-to-one sessions and just have these conversations about where their projects were going, what the next steps were, and seeing who else we could involve. Because obviously we were just two of us who were involved in the program, and we don't have the wider expertise that the KE team brings. So we were able to bring in those colleagues when it was necessary. And I think if we weren't involved, and if it was just the researchers having conversations with the program delivery partner, it might have taken them longer to find who the right person was to speak at the university about this. So I think that was really nice as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the lovely things, is that it really amplifies the reach that you can have. Both that kind of local knowledge, because you're going to know a lot better what's available within your own local area and your university. But also just that, Neil touched on it as well, that kind of, and Ruth has pointed out, that happenstance. I like, that's a lovely word. But just like, I happen to know someone that you're looking for, so making that connection, which takes me nicely on to my next question, which is really, is there an example that you could share? Maybe Neil, I'll come to you because you did touch on one there already, but an example where your involvement directly added value for a researcher or a research group, where you were like, yeah, I could see directly I made a difference there with my input.
Yeah, so I mean that was the biggest one for us. I mean, other than being kind of in the room, exactly what you've just said as well, Snehal, being able to point people to the right people rather than a SharePoint page. It's no, contact them, or even better, they're just over there and bring over, which was great. But no, it was in that industry matching part. The task that was set was to think about your own networks and talk to the others at your table. And it wasn't just me, but others from innovation services and kind of the business development side, client relationship managers. And we were just firing off contacts left, right, and center. Oh, you should talk to these people. There's their email address. And directly making those connections happen, which can be, when you try and go through those traditional channels, submit a form or whatever it is at various institutions, it can take longer, whereas in a room, one-to-one, it's much easier, I think, to have that direct impact, because you're creating the space for those conversations to happen within the training. Yeah,
it feels natural because the environment's made it just feel like easy to do, but actually these occurrences of bringing people together in that way with that focus don't actually happen that often. So yeah, I think that's really interesting. I mean, Angela, was there anything in particular where you felt, yes, I could see that my involvement there, or that conversation I had, led to something specific?
Right, down to, again, just sort of simple things. I think, we have researchers that may only reach out 2 or 3 times in their career to try and find a partner, whereas the sort of teams that we're in, we see this sort of thing all the time. We do it every day. So even what seems to me to be a really simple piece of advice, which is like, someone said, I want to go and speak to this partner, what should I do? And I was like, well, the first thing is just, you need to get a little NDA in place just to keep yourself just nicely covered. And then that, even saying NDA, I think that felt like quite a lot. And I was like, no, really, it's just a simple template. We can get it sorted out really quickly. And it really is just to keep you nice and covered for any initial conversations you're having, and to be able to like offer to come along to a meeting if, I'm happy to sit in the room, even just a bit of kind of support in the room. Because again, if you haven't done it before, it's quite overwhelming. So it was nice to be able to offer what felt like quite simple advice to me, but was really practical, useful advice for the researcher. That researcher is now talking to an external partner, which is great. We're still sorting out the NDA just because the partner wants to use their own. But that was a real proper outcome. One of our other researchers then went on to look at IEA, Impact Accelerator account funding within the university and start to explore partners alongside that too. So that was great. But again, even just the softer side of things, just being able to signpost to maybe regular events. So specifically for us, it's around kind of life sciences community in Scotland. So just about being able to start getting out and making yourself known, to get to local conferences, but more kind of just wider conferences, not completely subject specific. So just to start to create that kind of network of contacts that Neil was talking about when you start to do that spider diagram, it's having your name out there and having it known. And even when we go on to like the social media side of things as well, just bits of advice on, what to put on your social media and how to connect to people in a way that doesn't feel, again, overwhelming. Just maybe start to just follow people and see what they're talking about, and then you are kind of passively making yourself known to people too before you maybe want to do that outreach.
Yeah, I think that's an important part of the kind of connect to collaborate. Is just like, how do you increase your visibility without even necessarily having to go out and talk to people, and that can be a really gentle introduction to it. Sneha, I'll maybe come to you. Was there anything in particular where you felt, I could see that, direct link with my involvement in this program?
Yeah, I think one of the really nice things that about the program that I participated in was that we had around 10 different participants, and all of them had a slightly different trajectory in terms of what they were doing. And we were able to tailor some of the sessions where we all literally just sat in a room and worked on whatever the next step was. So everyone was doing something different. But that meant that we could provide support immediately on the spot while they were working on things like applications for ICAO or applications for translational funding. And eventually, some of those academics did go on to participate in ICAO, or did go on to secure that translational funding. So it was really nice to see how the commercial impact accelerator really did accelerate their progress.
Yeah, it's very practical, isn't it? Because you're actually just quickly doing things, instead of things being, barriers or a bit of inertia, it actually kind of keeps things moving along quite nicely. I'm going to come out to Angela next just to ask about what you gained from it. But just before I do that, I'm just going to mention to everyone that's listening in, if you've got any questions or if this is raising any thoughts for you or comments, please do, ask questions in the chat box. I'm happy with our panel, and also if you've got any comments. So yes, back to you, Angela. I'm interested in what you gained from participating. Did you feel that you kind of touched on this a little bit, but did it upskill you or raise your profile or change your approach to things or your relationship with your team, or how did it affect you?
Yeah, so I think, like I say, like quite selfishly, it was a lovely way to raise the profile of quite a new team. So that was great for us. It was also really helpful. Like I say, our college is big, and we've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of researchers in, really diverse areas. And it can become a job in itself for people in partnerships and industry engagement to try and find the researchers that might be interested in getting involved, but maybe don't quite have the time to sort of start asking questions, or maybe don't have the time to seek us out again, especially as we were a new team. So we were looking for ways as well to find those researchers that were probably already maybe warm to the idea of partnering, but just maybe weren't sure how to do it. So in our heads, we'd split our researchers up into 3 groups. There are some that are already just out there and doing it and have been doing it for a while, and maybe don't need support from our team, which is fine. There's some that are maybe more involved in kind of the fundamental science and aren't really seeking that industry partnership. They just want to be at their bench, which again is totally fine. But there was this kind of nebulous group in the middle that we knew were probably primed, but it was how did we find them? And so by running the course and advertising it, it brought them to us, which was really helpful and a really kind of efficient use of our time as well. So we ended up with a group that were kind of teed up for wanting to engage, but it was just, it was a way to kind of bring that group out to us rather than trying to go and speak to lots of researchers individually, which takes up a huge amount of time. And then longer term, by participating in a program like this, it's helpful again because we are a very, very small team for a big college. And what we don't want is for us to become a bottleneck in terms of like doing an awful lot of kind of being there every single step of the way. If we can start to build some knowledge and confidence and skills within the researchers, then they can kind of get themselves to a point before they need to engage with us. So again, it's a good use of our time, and it builds, like I say, builds confidence within the researchers themselves. And what we don't, like I say, we don't want to be a bottleneck. We want to be doing as much industry engagement as possible. So that again was an efficient way to do it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think like we ran a taster session, I believe, for University of Glasgow, and that actually went quite widely. I mean, I thought you had around about 100 people signed up for that. Was that right?
Yeah, well,
Sorry.
100 people, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that really kind of lets you know people are putting their hand up to say, "Yeah, I'm curious to find out more." So yeah, yeah. And Snehal, I'll maybe come to you because I know that you actually wrote a report on this afterwards. So really interested to hear your kind of take on what you personally gained from participating.
Yeah, I think it's similar to what Angela mentioned as well, that we're a new team. So I think it was a great way for some of the researchers across the university to meet us, to know what we do, what our processes are, and what kind of support we can provide. So I think it definitely did raise the profile of the team and of us individually as well. So both of us who participated in the program were new to the role. So we just joined a few months ago. So it was really a great way to meet researchers across the university as well. And I think it was a really great way to make progress in some of the projects that we were already involved in. So we had a mix of participants, some who were completely new to the process and some who we had already been engaging with from a commercialization and innovation perspective. So it was really nice to have that mix on the program just so that we could see the ones that had already interacted with us, the progress that they made, but also to be introduced to all of these new ones and see that they also made equally great progress throughout the program.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I have to say that's one of the things I love about being, like designing training and being involved in training is seeing, that's what you want to see, the difference that happens over that period of time. Neil, what about yourself?
So we worked really closely with the college, or with one of our 3 colleges, in designing the program. So we did a tester session as well, and we worked really closely to try and think about what impacts we wanted to get as a university. So I'll talk about university and personally as well. And we did some mapping, and we had some interesting results actually. So we found that people's confidence in engaging with industry actually went down, but we think that's because it was like, oh, actually, there is stuff that I don't know here about how to do it and how to talk. And that's the feedback that we got as well. So that was really, really useful. On a personal level, I think what I got out of it was in doing that kind of who hypothesis and in terms of how we engage with our own academic base, it really helped us think about how we can do better at being a face that people understand and want, a service that people want to use, because thinking about what the needs were, and it's not always the way that the service is designed at that point in time. And then also, exactly like you've said, Angela, just being able to get that bottleneck reduction was absolutely fantastic. Being able to say, actually, particularly for projects like KTPs that can have quite a lengthy and detailed development time, being able to be a bit more confident that we can say, yeah, go ahead and do it, and come to us when you've got questions, rather than them feeling that they need to come to us from day one. It can be, day 10 or whatever further in the process, which has just been really helpful, and helps the researchers do it themselves as well, self-service rather than getting in the queue, as it were. So yeah, I agree with everything everyone said, really. And from the college perspective, I think being able to set those KPIs in terms of industry engagement and understanding, and then be able to use this as a training program that delivers on the university's ambition as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's really interesting. And I think that's it. It's the training paradox of becoming consciously incompetent, knowing what you don't know. So actually a step back before but allows you to take more of a step forward. So yeah, I'm interested to hear about some of the challenges that are created by running a program such as this, because I appreciate there's a big time commitment. So there's benefits, of course, but it is, there's time, there's workload, role boundaries. How did you manage those? And maybe, Neil, if I can come back to you actually on that, what did you find as the kind of key challenges in the program or taking part in the program?
I think taking part in the program was okay, actually, because we'd all, as I said, we had about 5 or 6 people from across innovation services that were all engaged. So we saw it as being, I guess the challenge could be not seeing it as a core part of this kind of service offering. So because we did, and we strategically decided that we were going to have, people at each of the tables and things, we were able to plan for that. I think it could be a challenge if you don't, because then you end up, it takes time out of your working day, but then also you can generate interest and inquiries. You are profile raising for your team, so you have to be aware that you need to have a plan for how to support afterwards, which can be a challenge. But as I say, because we kind of did that and we worked with the colleges, we had some senior research and innovation leaders within the colleges attending as well, to be kind of mentoring opportunities for some of the staff, so it wasn't all just falling to us to manage the pipeline that arose.
That's really brilliant to have their buy-in for it as well. Yeah. Snehal, I'll maybe come to you and ask a similar question, if there were any kind of particular challenges that you came across.
Yeah, I think time was definitely a challenge for us, because we're a small team of only 3 of us, and 2 of us were involved in the program. So obviously, with all the sessions as well as sort of the one-to-one coaching sessions that we were part of, it did take up a significant part of our calendar. But I think, like you said, there are benefits to it. And of course, we were working with 10 different academics at the same time. So even though it did take up a chunk of our time, it meant that we were involved in 10 different projects, and some of which were already in our pipeline. So we would have anyways dedicated time to them. So it was just I guess it was just about being able to balance that with, of course, all the other day-to-day needs of the job. But there were definitely benefits to participating.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for that, Snehal. And Angela, maybe the same to yourself, any particular challenges that you faced and been part of this?
We, again, like Snehal, we're a small team, but how we addressed that was, we're a small team, but part of a much wider team, as part of like an innovation team. So we engaged our colleagues. So we had some people from employability, from the IAA, so the translational team, so looking after the IAAs. So we brought in more of the team as well. So that was helpful for us, just to help to facilitate all the different sessions. I think time-wise, yeah, it was a commitment, but we had forward planned for it. We knew it was coming. We blocked it out and made sure people were available and able to come along, and we knew it would be worthwhile for us as well, and worthwhile for the wider team. So it was a challenge, but one that could be mitigated for. And then I think just again, I don't know what like everyone's universities like, or colleges that are on the call, but like our campus is physically, it's quite big, and it's there's bits of it everywhere. So it was just about how do we find a location, things like that made it as inclusive for the participants and the team as possible, and doing that mix of in-person and remote as well, just to make sure that people were able to stay engaged the whole way along the program. But I think the hybrid worked well for that.
Yeah. I think that just shows you your answers there are just such solution focused kind of answers of like, yeah, there were challenges, but like actually, we made them work. So I think that's testament to your approach to it for all of you. I wonder about what impact you felt that the model had on breaking down any silos, or even if there's not silos, but how it's created a kind of stronger KE culture across your institution. Do you think it has an impact in that way, or would that be overstating it? I suppose. Neil, I'll maybe come to you first.
I was worried you would come to me first. I think it has had an impact. I think what we found really useful from Connect to Collaborate was, and from being involved in it, was helping helping our researchers understand that they are not alone in the challenge that they face. And I think from a KE culture perspective, those I mentioned this earlier, the questions that I'm sure all of us get on a regular basis: how do I talk to a company? Where do I find companies? All of this. That's what it seeks to resolve. But being able to bring everybody together and kind of realize that everybody has those problems, everybody has the same, as an academic, you typically do not have the language to talk to industry because that's not your background. Well, for some people it is, but for a lot of people it's not your background. So helping kind of break down the less of a silo, I suppose, but more of an expectation. I think a lot of people are used to being experts in their field, but then are completely out of their depth. And that's a difficult place to be in, but giving people that space to be to not know what they're talking about and learn how to do it better, I think was the key thing. And certainly it's something that we've referred back to. We've used kind of informally some of the tools from the sessions in how we approach things. So when someone comes to us and says, one-to-one, do you have a company contact? We can start to say, well, have you thought about and use some of those tools, which is really helpful as well.
I love that. Turn straight back at them. That's the trainer world. That's a great question. What do you think? So yeah. Thank you for that, Angela. What about yourself? Did you feel that this did have an impact in breaking down silos or building that kind of KE culture across perhaps the institution or on a kind of smaller scale?
Yeah, I mean, so as I said in my introduction, so I'm in the College of Medical, Veterinary and Life Sciences, but I have opposite numbers in the College of Science and Engineering, and we have it for social sciences and the arts as well. So as a team, we're trying to work across colleges when we can too. So even just to be able to share knowledge like that, you might be in MVLS, but maybe there's a particular technique or piece of kit that might be in COSE, the College of Science and Engineering, that you could make use of. So I think even just in terms of bringing down silos between our colleges, it was nice to be able to kind of share information, certainly from our team to our participants. And then also just creating, like within the cohort, like a little mini network that spanned all the schools. And again, you can just hear kind of like the high pitch, like, oh my God, sort of tone, like you can hear it in the other groups. It's because there's been a little sharing moment or a little connection somewhere, and could have been, sharing a contact, or again saying, oh yeah, we've got that bit of kit over in our lab, like you can use that. So it was nice, and it created a little sense of community of the people that were participating in the program itself. And then also, this is just from my own perspective. Like I said before, my background is technically biology, but it was 25 years ago, and I've not had a lab coat on since then. So I come from a completely different background, much more kind of business development, business facing, economic development, and just to bring a slightly different perspective into discussions as well was a way to kind of maybe not sort of knock down silos, but maybe just barriers in thinking as well. So just kind of opening people up to, there's lots of different organizations out there beyond the university that can also help you. So it was good to be able to share, just kind of my own insights and expertise from a completely different background to everybody in the room.
Yeah, I could hear a lot of that going on. And I can remember on that very first day in Glasgow, when we were doing the first session in person, there's quite a buzz in the room, and all the professional service staff are bouncing around tables, basically kind of like overhearing things and being able to jump in and provide answers and support and networks and just a bit of guidance as well. It was good fun to watch, I have to say, from my perspective. Snehal, maybe same question to you. What impact do you think?
Yeah, I would echo what Angela just said as well, that it was not just an impact for us as professional service staff interacting with the researchers and academics, but also just building that sort of community feeling within the cohort. And we also had similar situations where, one conversation between two of the participants led to them realizing they might be able to actually help each other. So I think those sort of barriers, which I don't think they would have ever interacted if it weren't for this course, because they work in completely two different locations, not even on the same campus. So it was really nice to be able to see those. But I think even for us, for the academics, I guess, just to see that, we're participating along, that we're here to help them, and that we're sort of on their side when we talk about innovation, commercialization, impact, that we want to help them make sure their research has that impact.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. And these kind of programs create opportunities for connections to be made and create the opportunity for serendipity, I suppose. That people being in the right place at the right time. I'm actually going to go. We've not got a question so much, but I'm building on what Ruth Winden has mentioned in the chat about reciprocity. So I'm just wondering if any of the people that have been involved in the program have followed up with you afterwards and reciprocated in some way for the support or guidance, or been able to provide you with something in return. Now, I know that's a bit of an unexpected question. Would any of you like to put your hand up to answer that? Has anyone come back to you after the programme?
I found it helpful in that it's grown my network within our academics so much more. And when I was trying to do some work off the back of an event, and I'm looking for people in certain areas in cardiovascular health, like I kind of know people now that I can go back and ask, and rather than me sit and try and go through staff bios on our kind of SharePoint or on our website, I can just go and ask people now, and they'll go, oh yeah, such and such is working in that area, and like give me a name, and it takes 2 minutes versus maybe, I don't know, an hour of going through all different research areas and research groups. So it's just nice to have a wider community for myself.
Yeah, that's nice. And that's a much warmer way of doing things as well, isn't it? Building off those relationships. Neil, you looked like you were maybe going to say something. I want to put you in the
Yeah,
spot.
no, I was going to say almost exactly the same thing, actually. And interestingly, Ruth's second comment there around job titles, and I think for me, it's almost the opposite with the academic base as well. Actually, sitting in a room with someone who might be the associate dean for research and innovation, that you've always emailed dear whoever and been very formal, but you build that one-to-one connection with, and then exactly like you've said, Angela, you can go and say, what do you think about this, or like, do you have anyone in mind? We've had a business inquiry, etc. So yeah, that personal relationship with your colleagues was absolutely fundamental.
Yeah, that's nice. And I wonder, maybe Sneha, I'll come to you in this next question. Just like, I wonder what happened after the program. You did touch or allude to some nice outcomes and results from it, but could you tell us a little bit more about the kind of the range of things that maybe happened after the program?
Yeah, I think it was really nice to see, obviously, the end of the program. All the participants sort of gave a quick presentation overview of how far they'd come, what things they'd learned along the way. But obviously, we've been following up with these projects in the months after, and it's been great to see some of that progress. We've had a few participants go on to iCure. We've had our first ever iCure Explore participant, who was someone who participated in the Skillfluence Commercial Impact Accelerator. We've had someone go on to get the UKRI proof of concept funding. So it's really nice to see all of these outcomes and know that them participating in this program sort of helped push them forward a bit on this journey.
Congratulations, that's pretty amazing. And that was very competitive for the proof of concept funding, so really impressive to have someone from the University of Hull achieving that. That's brilliant. And so many other things as well. So yeah, congratulations, that's really lovely. Neil, what about yourself?
So yeah, it's similar in terms of outputs. I mean, the one that strikes me as the nicest one was one of the people that was on the program. Absolutely had no idea how his research would be applicable to industry. And then we won a KTP for him as well. So that was really nice to be able to kind of go from, I have no idea how to do it, from last year to now being able to say, yeah, you're directly embedding your expertise and your knowledge within industry. So it was great. And then similar, there's been, for Connect to Collaborate, I think it was very early stage for a lot of our participants in terms of beginning to just explore. But as a region in South Yorkshire, we've got a program called the South Yorkshire Innovation Program, which is a kind of a business support program, and lots of the participants, I was looking at this the other day, I think half of them have worked on projects funded through that as well. So we are seeing that industry engagement is happening with people that told us a year ago that they had no confidence in how to do it. So it's just nice to see it happen.
That's really brilliant. And I think that's it. These things, and again, another thing I love about training is you just never know what impact it's going to have on people and what outcomes it will lead to, and that ripple effect. And we don't always get to hear about it. So it's really nice when you get that longer term sense of change happening a little bit. So yeah, that's really brilliant to hear. Angela, what about yourself? I know it's not that long since the programme ran, but I wonder if there's anything that you would share about what happened after the programme.
I think I kind of touched on a couple of the ones that we were aware of kind of immediately afterwards around IEA funding and going out and speaking directly to external partners. But I think it was good for us in that we were able to promote. We just recently delivered a Partnerships Day event within the college, so it was good to be able to promote that to the cohort, hoping that they would get involved and come along and feel more confident about coming to an event that was focused on partnerships. And yeah, I think we're just over 6 months out now, so we should really be looking at doing more of a follow-up with all the participants to see, where are they now? Have they done some of the outreach and looked at their plans and who have they spoken to? But also just like some of the immediate feedback in having delivered the event was useful. So if we were to do it again, it helps shape future events too. And one of the really interesting parts was, despite the fact that it had been designed as a mix of kind of online and in person, because we thought that would suit people better for being able to attend. But people, like you said, Alison, there was a real buzz in the room and people really enjoyed doing it in person. And some of the feedback was, next time, could it be either all or majority in person and less online? So that was interesting to come out straight after the event too.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting to see what people find from these kind of programs, because often they'll be kind of like, oh, they want that really light touch, not too long, but actually the in-person can be, really powerful for them. I think you get a lot out of it. We're kind of nearly out of time. I've got one final question for all of our panelists, which is really just, what's one piece of advice that you'd give to someone in professional services who want to shift from being maybe just the organizer of things to actually being a learning partner within a program? Who will I come to first? Snehal, maybe come to you first, if that's okay. What's your one piece of advice?
Yeah, I would say, my piece of advice would just be around, making sure that the sessions or the design of the program, I guess, is sort of tailored to enable those interactions and those not necessarily planned and structured conversations, because I think we got the most out of the times when we were all just sitting in a room talking and learning alongside each other. So I think having those sort of sessions where, of course, there is an agenda, but then there's time to sort of have those offbeat conversations that suddenly come out of something, which actually can then lead to further progress. So I think that's one of the things that I found really useful.
That's really nice. I really like that kind of space within programs outside of programs, that they're kind of, and to build that in can be really important. That's why things like residential events are so fantastic, because it's when you go for a coffee after the event is where actually sometimes the magic really does happen. Angela, let me come to you next. What's your one piece of advice that you would give to someone?
At the risk of sounding like Nike, just do it. It was a really fun program, and also if you're not in the room and you're not actively part of it, you don't hear the conversations, and there's just little gems that come up in discussions with the researchers. And one of the ones that we took away from ours was when people were like some of the stuff that they're working on is just wild, and these people are just so incredibly smart and have such amazing science that can be translated into amazing real world impact, and yet they still are like, oh, I don't know how to sort of, I'm just a person. I don't know how to promote myself. No one will listen to me if I reach out. But like what we want to do is to remind them where they were. It's like, you're in a great institution that's got a great reputation and good rankings. And so don't be shy about saying where you're from. Like, you're from a world-renowned university, and, everyone on the call, there's just such an incredible amount of recognition from UK institutions. So don't be shy about saying where you're from, and maybe use that to get somebody's attention first, and then, build up a bit of confidence, and then talk about who you are, what you do, and why you should be working together. But if you're not in the room in the first place, you don't hear those things, and you don't have those little epiphanies with your groups.
Yeah, that's really nice. That's it. It's just being there and listening out for what's needed. And Neil, what about yourself? What's your one piece of advice?
I think plan. And what I mean, that can mean anything, but specifically think about which learning need you're trying to address, and how you want to do it. And I think for us, again, like you said, Alison, as a pilot for Connect to Collaborate, there are loads of things like that we planned for how we were going to get the right people to come along. We planned for how we were going to get buy-in, the days that academics tended to be free, all of this kind of thing, just to try and give it the impact that it needed, and the buy-in from the colleges then to actually be able to run it and have it deliver the impacts. You said one, but the other one is be confident as well. And I think I was reflecting on this when you were just talking, Angela, around these experts in the field and etc. But remember that we are experts in the field too. Like you said earlier, some academics will reach out to businesses a few times in their career, but we do it daily, and have that confidence to be in the room as both a learner, but also a provider of advice, and build those personal connections, I think, as well.
That's brilliant. Well, thank you very much for that. That's been so interesting, so insightful. So thank you ever so much for taking part in the panel. I'm just going to look at the time. It's just zipped by, and I was priding myself on finishing in good time. So I'm just going to share the screen just for final couple of moments. I just want some quick key takeaways, really. I think I've picked up loads of stuff from that. I'm going to be revisiting all of this, but really just, this gives you a chance to get inside researchers' heads. It leads to some pretty interesting outcomes, some of them really tangible, but also a lot of kind of intangible things, like those warm connections you make. Plan so that you know what it is that you're wanting to achieve from it, because remember that you're also the expert. And then Angela's just sloganistic, just do it. I think, I really like that. That is just kind of like, actually, just try it out and see what works. So thank you very much to our panelists. That's been great. I'm just going to mention about our next webinar, which is on Thursday, the 20th of November at 12 noon. Very excited to tell you more about the pilot programme that we recently ran for Innovate UK as part of their iCure portfolio, all about reaching universities and groups that are underrepresented on iCure programmes. On our panel, another panel, we have Vanessa Williams from University Alliance, who we partnered with to make sure we had great reach with post-1992 universities. We have Rabab Redan, a PhD student from the University of West of England, who was a participant on the programme. We've got Paul Williams, Head of Contracts and Intellectual Property Services at the University of Greenwich, who is a key stakeholder in connecting us into the university there. And we've got a member of Innovate UK iCure team who'll be joining us to be decided just exactly who that is, but we will keep you posted on our website. And I'll look forward to that. This has been such a fantastic conversation today. So a big thank you to our guest speakers, to Snehal, to Neil, and to Angela. Really appreciate you taking the time in sharing your stories and your experiences. Wishing you all the very best of luck with next steps with this. Look forward to hearing more about what happens and the ripple effects of all the work that you've been involved in and the connections you've made. So thank you to everyone for joining me today and for your engagement. And please do feel free to connect on LinkedIn, follow Skillfluence. Been great to have your comments and some of your perspectives. So hoping today has sparked some ideas around being part of programmes, and I'll look forward to seeing you all at the webinar in November. Thanks very much, everyone. Bye.